is important that the student hypnotist should take his responsibilities seriously and give very careful consideration to all the suggestions he or she will be making to his or her subjects. The following are a number of points which should be kept in mind. Never attempt to hypnotize an uncooperative subject. Never hypnotize minors or children unless in the presence of parents or responsible witnesses. Obtain the permission of or agreement of the husband, wife, or parent of anyone who might be thought not to be a completely free agent. Get the subject's agreement, request or consent for the nature of the hypnotic suggestions which might affect his or her life. At the end of each hypnotic session, see that your subject is fully awake and acting normally in every way before he or she leaves you. See that all the suggestions and post-hypnotic suggestions you have made to your subject during a session are cancelled, excepting of course those which are for his or her own good. Avoid use of the fixed gaze methods with people whose eyes are weak or who appear to be unusually nervous. Hypnotism is more easily induced in people who are expecting it to help them. There is an exception to this where the desire to receive help causes over-eagerness or anxiousness, nervousness or tense conditions. The first time an attempt is made to hypnotize a subject, there may be a difficulty in inducing the trance. If the subject is not a good subject during the first induction, he or she may be only very lightly affected by your suggestions. On the second and third attempts, these suggestions will have a greater effect. Once any depth of trance has been affected, subsequent inductions become easier and easier. Post-hypnotic suggestions may be employed to deepen later trances and facilitate the ease with which they may be induced. In the absence of any counter-influences affecting the subject, each successive trance becomes easier to induce. When you are carrying out experiments, tests, and attempting inductions, many unexpected incidents are likely to occur. If you are unprepared for them, you may find yourself embarrassed or disconcerted. It is impossible to anticipate everything which is likely to happen. Therefore, do not in any way be disconcerted. Preserve an appearance of perfect calm and self-control and maintain your prestige. A hypnotist may find that he is called upon to give advice upon a variety of subjects. These may cover illness, personal and domestic troubles, and occupational difficulties. So it is as well to have a set policy ready and to observe it at all times. Make sure that anyone seeking advice on any matter affecting his health has seen his own doctor. Do not give direct advice on major problems such as counseling, a change of occupation, or refusing an offer of other employment. In particular, avoid giving direct advice or a decision on domestic problems. Do not place yourself in a position whereby anyone later on may be enabled to say, "I did as you told me, look what has happened, it's your fault." When you express opinions, always give reasons for your views. It is wisest to explain all the factors of a case clearly and to leave it to the subject to arrive at the right solution. Until the hypnotist is quite sure of the circumstances he is dealing with, he should avoid making specific suggestions. Care must be taken to ascertain the religious, social, and political beliefs of a subject in order to avoid offending or making any suggestion incompatible with his beliefs or injuring his susceptibilities. The hypnotist must avoid at all costs allowing the subject to unconsciously slip into the habit of considering the hypnotist indispensable to him. It is very easy and often beneficial to the subject to look upon the therapist as his guide, philosopher, and friend, but it is also undesirable that he should think of he should think that the hypnotist is indispensable to his daily living and that he cannot get along without him. This obviously is inimical to the final objective, for the aim is to build up in the subject self-confidence and self-reliance. For this reason, the hypnotist must be on his guard against giving out too much help from the beginning of the contact, and this must be gradually decreased as progress is made. If subjected to excessive strain, bones can break and tissues can be injured, whether a person is hypnotized or not. To avoid any possibility of injury, do not attempt to cause a hypnotized subject to undertake unreasonable feats of strength. It is quite obvious that not only would such an occurrence be dangerous and distressing to the subject, but it would also be very damaging to the hypnotist. Carelessly or thoughtlessly planned experiments of this nature give much material for adverse criticism of hypnotism. In any experiments where some degree of muscular effort is required, enlist as your volunteers only strong young people. If anyone should ask for hypnotic suggestions to remove pain or to alleviate or cure an ailment, no hypnotist should ever do so without making further inquiries into the circumstances of the cause. Pain is usually nature's warning that something is wrong, and it would be wrong to block it out with hypnotic suggestions without inquiring further. The hypnotist should, by asking the patient, discover how long the prospective subject has had his pain or symptoms and what treatment he has received for it. For this information, he will be in a better position to decide what he should do. For example, a heartache might be nothing more than a temporary hangover from a late night, but on the other hand, if it was recurrent or has been persistent, it might possibly be the beginning of a brain tumor. A stomachache might be a temporary colic, but if the pain is severe, it could be an acute attack of appendicitis. And in the patient's own interest, it would be better that he should see his doctor as soon as possible. If you decide to use hypnosis, then suggestions should be made on the following lines. Your pain will grow easier, but this will not make you cancel your intention to see your doctor. The relief from pain will last until you see your doctor, but you must go to see him. It is hardly necessary to point out that anyone intending to give therapeutic suggestions would be wise to become acquainted with the groundwork of psychology and have a doctor whom, if necessary, could be approached for advice. If a hypnotist is approached for help by some sufferer who has exhausted all possible orthodox methods of treatment without success, no objection can be taken to the hypnotist rendering what aid he can. He will find that in a number of cases he is able, if not to cure, to alleviate many complaints. If possible, the hypnotist should attempt to get the unofficial blessing of the patient's own doctor. Hypnotism should not be regarded as a new means of living one's life or achieving objectives. It is a means to an end. The life of any individual should be lived, arranged, and organized in full waking consciousness, and should be so constituted that he may live naturally and spontaneously. Hypnotism is only a means of building the habits necessary to live in a healthy, balanced manner. It is also a means of removing obstacles, habits, and ideas which will interfere with the process. In learning to hypnotize people, various difficulties and obstacles may arise to delay competence being achieved. Circumstances may interfere with the program planned. Opportunities for practice or suitable subjects may not be available. These setbacks will adversely affect the beginner if he has not grasped the fact that he is also vulnerable to suggestion. If obstacles and delays occur, do not be discouraged. Once he encounters a good somnambulistic, if he has followed the instructions with only moderate competence, he cannot fail to achieve a successful induction. Once this is accomplished, his confidence will be established and his failures forgotten. How soon he discovers his first somnambulist is simply a matter of luck and perseverance.